When Charlotte arrived to live with her father in 1784, he was an ailing alcoholic. She found his physical state disgusting, and he was suffering from mental degeneration and using a litter for travel. Ah, Bonnie Prince Charlie. If you've watched Outlander, you'd know the famous man whose Jacobite plot it revolves around. Charlie is famous for the 1745 Uprising and the Battle of Culloden. Also known as the Young Pretender, he is the eldest son to James Stuart, the one who began the Jacobite succession. If you want to know more about James Stuart, the son of King James II of England, I do have a video recreation of him. But if you're new to my channel, welcome. Here on Modal Faces, I recreate historic portraits to see how individuals we read about might have looked in real life, and in this video, I will be doing Bonnie Prince Charlie of the Jacobite Uprising. So thank you for watching, subscribe for more historic recreations, let me know in the comments who you want to see in real life. Bonnie Prince Charlie was the grandson of the Catholic King James II of England, who was deposed from the British throne in favor of his Protestant daughter Mary II and his son-in-law William III. He fled to France and spent the remainder of his life in exile. When both of James's daughters died without an heir, the throne passed to the closest Protestant male, George I of Hanover. During George's reign, on the other side of the continent, Charles was born. Charles was said to have suffered from weak legs at an early age, possibly as a result of rickets. He survived smallpox without disfigurement and spent much of his early childhood in Rome and Bologna in the company of a small retinue and a close but often argumentative family. His brother Henry Benedict Stuart was born 5 years later, on the 6th of March, 1725. His mother and father were regularly at disagreement with each other, but his family had a sense of pride and believed in the divine right of kings. Charlie grew up with this pride, and it fueled his rebellion. By the time he had reached 20, he had become a notable member of upper-class society in Rome and had developed a fondness of alcohol and fine clothes, often in excess of his allowance. His father continued to rely on foreign aid to restore him to the throne, and he wasn't very close with his brother Henry, who was chosen to enter into a religious career for its financial and societal influence. But Charlie had a mission, and throughout Catholic France and Rome he found supporters who gave him hope. After a brief period in France following a failed attempt to gain support, on July 23, 1745, on the island of Erskay in Scotland, the young Prince Charles Edward Stuart landed a ship armed with just 7 men. Better known as Bonnie Prince Charlie, he would lead a Jacobite rebellion against the British government. His aim was simple. He wanted to restore his claim to the throne, and he wanted to be more than just Bonnie Prince Charlie. He wanted to be king. James's supporters, known as the Jacobites, fought several rebellions to restore the family to the throne. Charles's father, Prince James, the Old Pretender, was involved in a failed rebellion in 1715, but by 1745, George II of Hanover was king, and Britain was embroiled in the War of the Austrian Succession on the continent. So while British forces were distracted, Bonnie Prince Charlie believed the time was ripe to launch another rebellion. A problematic arrival. In Scotland, he quickly gained support from the Highlands, and his army successfully fought General John Cope's men. After the victory at the Battle of Prestonpans, Charles and his army attempted to continue to London. They were forced to retreat back to Scotland after receiving reports of overwhelming armies prepared to defend the city. Charles did not give up completely and continued to lead his men into battles. However, after the disastrous 40-minute defeat at Culloden Muir, Charles was forced to spend the next 5 months as a haunted man. It is not completely clear how Charles spent these months, although it appears he disguised himself as a Mr. Sinclair, a shipwrecked merchant, and later on as Lady Betty Burke, avoiding his arrest from the British government. He was taken in by many secretive supporters, none of who betrayed him for the £30,000 reward. Eventually, Charles was rescued from Scotland and shipped back to France, who, though they were still not prepared to support Charles on the throne, they agreed to protect him, if only to continue their feud with England. In 1748, the War of the Austrian Succession between France and England ended, and the English insisted the French exile Charles. He was forced to spend the rest of his life moving around Europe in a range of guises. He also had a daughter by his mistress Clementina Willenshaw in October 1753, but the relationship ended in 1760 amidst tales of jealousy and violence. By the age of 45, Charles had few supporters left, and avoided his father and younger brother due to both of them agreeing Henry should become cardinal. Charles felt it would deter Protestants from joining the cause. A year later, his father died, and he was allowed to stay in his childhood home Palazzo Muti in Rome, so he returned. He married a 19-year-old bride in 1722, but after another abusive breakdown from alcoholic Charles, she left to live with her brother-in-law, Henry. From 1783, Bonnie Prince Charlie was ill, had asthma, high blood pressure, swollen legs, and ulcers. His reputation had deteriorated and was nursed by his illegitimate daughter until 1788, when he suffered a stroke and died in January, age 68. His legend continues despite it being based on only 1 year's adventure in Scotland. As for Henry, the last legitimate descendant of James II, his remaining life could be described as a beatific, abstemious, wealthy, celibate estate who lived to a great age, inoffensive and respectable to the end. And that's just a little bit about Bonnie Prince Charlie and the beginning of the end of the Jacobite succession. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more recreations. Each of your subscriptions does help this channel grow. It allows me to continue making more content for you. Let me know in the comments who you want to see next. I do make a list of all your suggestions, and I will see you in the next one.